Hi, it's me again. Let's just get to the reading. It's Joshua 12. This section is called the list of defeated, they're losers, kings. These are the kings of the land. How are they losers? They're dead. Nah, I'm just kidding. I shouldn't joke like that. Because God understands, I'm a certain personality type. But they're losers. They lost because they are against God. We didn't. It's not clear from my recordings, but if you question one of these kings, they might say, "Who is God?" I know. He is that Most High. I hate him. I will never serve him. They'll be like, and blaspheme him, blah, 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 As soon as they start to talk about the one true God, you just blah, it's just expletives, blah, 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 blah. And then, a modern day person, what's wrong with the guy, just stop, Just they keep going on and lying and, saying all these swear words over and over again about God who you should respect and love. Okay, these are the kings of the land that God exterminated, whom the Israelites had defeated and whose territory they took over east of the Jordan from the Arnon Gorge or Ammon Gorge to Mount Hermon, including all the eastern side of the Arabah. Sihon, king of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon. He ruled from Aroer on the rim of the Arnon Gorge, from the middle of the gorge to the Jabbok River, which is the border of the Ammonites. This included half of Gilead. He also ruled over the eastern Arabah, from the Sea of Galilee to the Sea of Arabah. So the Sea of Arabah is the Dead Sea, to Beth Jeshimoth, and then southward below the slopes of Pisgah. See what I did there? See what I did there? You might want to try it. I heard that something about the eyes, not watching you. And the territory of Og, king of Bashan, one of the last of the Rephaites who reigned in Ashtaroth, and Edrei. He ruled over Mount Hermon, Salekah, all of Bashan, to the border of the people of Geshur and Ma'akah, and half of Gilead, to the border of Sihon, king of Heshbon. So between these two kings, they had Gilead. Moses, the servant of the Lord, and the Israelites conquered them. And Moses, the servant of the Lord. Remember, a servant of the Lord isn't a butt-kissing yes man. A servant of the Lord is something like Darth Vader. He says, "Yes, it will be done." And he storms out there like on a tear. That is a military term. He does it really quickly. He is like a hurricane, and he gets what his Lord wants done quickly. and excellently. And then the servant of a Lord, the Lord will say, "Well done, servant." Or like, "Well done, mini me, Lord." Gave their land to the Reubenites. So Gilead went to the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh to be their possession. Verse 7, here is a list of the kings of the land that Yehoshua, and the Israelites conquered on the west side of the Jordan, from Baal Gad, or Gad, Gad is better, in the valley of Lebanon to Mount Halak. It looks like Halak, but it's probably pronounced Halak, because I just know from studying Hebrew, there's something called alaka. It has to do with the law. Halaka, which rises toward Seir. Yehoshua gave their land as an inheritance to the tribes of Israel according to their tribal divisions. The lands included the hill country, the western foothills, the Arabah. In my earlier recordings, the mountain slopes, the wilderness, and the Negev. So, like in the United States, there's a song called America the Beautiful. For spacious skies, for amber waves of grain. Remember, the Israelites came out. They didn't come out. They left Egypt. But if you go to Egypt, it's a desert. It's like a desert oasis. It's part of Egypt is very fertile. By the rivers, the River Nile. But if you have visited it, there's so much sand there, and it's so hot. And if you go into a city, it's hot and it's sandy. Surprising. Like, we have soil. We have dirt, and we have trees. They have a lot of sand, and they will plant their trees in sand. They have the type of trees that grow in sand. There's not much water there, so the trees there, they don't need as much water to grow. It's a very sandy place. But this land, they call it a land flowing with milk and honey. I think it means it's like America. Here we have, the West Coast, right? And then we have like desert. And then we have mountainous places. They're kind of cold. And then we have the Midwest, which is really flat. And a lot of things can grow. And there are many lakes there. And then, then we have places like Florida, which are like Mexico, And then the East Coast is different. They have different kind of trees. And when you start to drive from the Midwest and go east, you start to see all these evergreen trees, like Christmas trees, On the West Coast, you don't. You have a few of them, but, on the West Coast, you have palm trees. And you have sequoias. Not sequoias, what are they called? Cypress trees. It's just different, everything looks different on the East Coast. It's colder, and it's older, it's like Europe, to exaggerate. Because remember, when people came to this country originally, remember they took that boat, from England, for example, and they landed on the East Coast. There are those colonies of the early Americas. So it has this, when you look at the buildings, when you're, in any state on the East Coast, they have this old, like European style. So there's so much, in the United States. For example, in this example, it's not just sandy. Like, it's not a sandy place from coast to coast. And so I was saying a land flowing with milk and honey. This is a description of it. There's there's hill country, hilly, then there are foothills. People from the West Coast are familiar with the term foothills. Then there's the Araba, the Dead Sea, and the region around it. Probably a lot of fishing. Remember, Christians, the Lord, his inner three, Peter, James, and John, they all could fish. And where did they fish? The Sea of Galilee. The mountain slopes, so there are mountains there. The wilderness. Wow, wilderness. Like where you go camping. And the Negev, that's the desert. These were the lands of the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. These were their kings. The king of Jericho, 1. The king of near Bethel, 1. The king of some really ancient Jerusalem, 1. The king of Hebron, 1. The king of Jarmuth, 1. The king of Lachish, 1. The king of Eglon, 1. The king of Gezer, 1. The king of Debir, 1. The king of Geder, 1. The king of Hormah, 1. The king of Arad, 1. The king of Libnah, 1. The king of Adulam, 1. The king of Makkadah, 1. The king of Bethel, 1. The king of Tapua, 1. The king of Hefer, 1. The king of Aphek, 1. The king of Lasharon, 1. The king of Madon, 1. The king of Hazor, 1. The king of Shimron Meron, 1. The king of Akshaph, 1. The king of Ta'anak, 1. Oh, that sounds like the Tanakh. The Tanakh is a word for the Hebrew Bible. The king of Megiddo, or Megiddo, 1. Megiddo sounds like mega millions. The king of Kadesh, 1. The king of Jokneam in Carmel, 1. The king of Dor, not Dork, the king of Dor. That's funny. God bless his soul. My pastor, he went to seminary. Pastors. Just bear with me for a second. Pastors, they go through training, like a lot of college. It's called seminary. He went to Calvin College, and then he went to Dort, and he would always say, "I went to Dort, not Dork." It's like a university called Dort. It's not Dork. 1. The king of Goyim, in Gilgal. Very interesting. So, um, remember the modern term that the Jewish people have for everyone else besides them is Goyim. One, the king of Tirzah. One, 31 kings in all. Let's take a chance and keep going to Joshua 13. 13. Oh, you know what I learned? This may help you. I used to think that the number 13 is terrible. Anyone that is born on the 13th might be unlucky, or that if you were born on Friday the 13th, you may be cursed. You can easily go on Google and find out which day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, for example, that which day a certain date was. Like if you know your birthday, you can enter it into Google and ask which day of the week was that, and it will tell you. Google will tell you. And then someone's like, I was born on Friday also, and 13th. But remember, Jesus Christ, I like to say that he is a good Lord and a good God, the Creator. He likes to make things easier for you, and he will make things okay for you. Like temporarily, he will say, it's okay, don't worry about it. I found out that the number 13 is Mother Mary, Mary, mother of Jesus, Mary, the Virgin, who gave birth. It was a virgin birth, to our Lord 2,000 years ago. That's actually her number. So it's not a bad number. It's good. And it has to do with the 13th. For those of you who are into did Mary appear? There are eyewitness accounts where they looked up into the sky and they're like, I testify that I saw her up there. They call it an apparition. If you look it up online, if you have time, she has appeared many times. And a lot of people, they testify that they saw her. And there's this, throughout history she has appeared. But once in Fatima, she appeared. And it was always on the 13th. Some of you may have heard of Fatima. She always appeared on the 13th. It's like she appeared, and then she said, I'm going to appear next month again on the 13th. And then again on the 13th, for example. So do not be afraid, of Friday the 13th. Because Friday is also Good Friday, And 13th is her number. And, there's a Bible verse. He who is free, set free by the Lord Jesus. He who is free indeed, He's not just a savior. He is something like a deliverer. Remember? Like Moses. Moses is like Jesus. Because Egypt was called a land of slavery and death, Remember, they enslaved the Hebrews. And they must not have championed or cared about life. Right now, there's still people who don't care. I don't want to get political, but they don't care if you just kill a baby in the womb, We should at least think twice about it. Are there moral and like not just moral, because moral has to do with right and wrong. Like, we are advanced. We are the future. You know, isn't it barbaric to destroy this little tiny guy that is sentient. He has this little guy, he or she is already conscious. It's like this little dude, in the mama's belly. I mean, isn't it barbaric, to just kill that guy? So in Egypt, they probably were 50 times worse than we are now. They probably were like, they'd be walking along, and, for example, I'm being funny, but like, just kill it. Their solution would be just kill it. Just get rid of it. They're walking along, and then, for example, we see pigeons and squirrels everywhere. What do we do about these guys? Well, just kill them. Let's go talk to the Pharaoh. Pharaoh, we think we should just kill these things, and Pharaoh's like, all right, and they write up some kind of royal, decree. From this point on, we will just kill all the anythings. Okay, let's go on to Joshua 13. Joshua 13, land still to be taken. When Yehoshua, had grown old, the Lord said to him, "You are now very old." That's kind of funny. Hey man, I hate to tell you, but you're very old. Some people grab a hold of something. You have to see this movie called Ghost, starring Patrick Swayze and Whoopi Goldberg and Demi Moore. Demi Moore's character is like a psychic who can see ghosts. Demi Moore's character, she's a wife whose husband died and is now a ghost. And then Patrick Swayze's character is that ghost, right? And then he's like, I gotta warn my wife because someone's trying to kill her. And then he finds Whoopi Goldberg's character. I know you could. I think her name was Oda Mae. I know you can see me, Oda Mae. You can hear me. And then she's like, go away, ghost, go away, ghost. He's like, I need you to warn my wife. And then Whoopi Goldberg, so funny. She goes, Molly? Wait, okay, let me back up. She's like, all right. Ghost, tell your wife. Let me tell her right away. She can't see. Oda Mae can see the ghost, right? The husband, Patrick Swayze's character. But Demi Moore can't see him, And then Demi Moore thinks she's crazy. Like, who are you talking to? I'm talking to your husband. He's dead. He's right here. He's a ghost. You can't see him. I can. And then she's like, let me tell her my way. Shut up. To Patrick Swayze's character. Molly, you in danger, girl. Tell my wife someone's trying to kill her. Let me tell her my way. Molly, you in danger, girl. So it's kind of funny. God's like, Joshua, you are very old. Sorry, Joshua. Kim doesn't. The Lord is Joshua. It's funny because earlier, you have to watch my earlier video. The Lord made Moses disobey him, and that was retirement for him. He told Moses, you have done so much. Great job. I have to because the Lord has, powers actually beyond our wildest imaginations. He could split the Red Sea, So he's sort of like did his thing, do the God thing. He made him disobey him, so he would retire. Some of you understand that, if I fake you, or sometimes someone just can't quit. It's extremely overachieving in a good way, but he earlier he made Joshua's predecessor, right, his old boss, disobey him, so he's retired. Now Joshua needs to retire, and every one of his children, when you have kids, each one, my mom told me, like, you're all different. I love you all, and I talk to you all differently. The Lord is definitely, mighty. He's like a man, powerful man. But so there's a different approach. Joshua, it's now time for Joshua. You got to retire. Joshua, I tricked your boss to disobey. But Joshua, Yehoshua, you need to retire. You are very old. And there are still very large areas of land to be taken over. Now, this is the land that remains. All the regions of the Philistines and Geshurites, from the Shihor River on the east of Egypt to the territory of Ekron on the north, all of it counted as Canaanite, though held by the 5 Philistine rulers in Gaza. So Gaza used to have Philistines in it. Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gath, Ekron, the territory of the Avites, on the south, all the land of the Canaanites from Arah, of the Sidonians as far as Aphek, and the border of the Amorites, the area of Byblos and all Lebanon, to the east, from Baal Gad, below Mount Hermon to Lebo Hamath. As for all the inhabitants of the mountain regions, from Lebanon to Misrephoth Maim, try saying that 5 times fast. Misrephoth Maim, that is all the Sidonians. I myself will drive them out before the Israelites. Be sure to allocate this land to Israel for an inheritance, as I have instructed you, and divide it as an inheritance among the nine tribes and half of the tribe of Manasseh. The next section is titled Division of the Land East of the Jordan. The other half of Manasseh, the Reubenites and the Gadites, had received the inheritance that Moses had given them east of the Jordan, as he, the servant of the Lord, had assigned it to them. It extended from Aroer on the rim of the Arnon Gorge, and from the town in the middle of the gorge, and included the whole plateau of Medeba. Not what the word you're thinking. This is Medeba. Medeba. As far as Dibon, and all the towns of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who ruled in Heshbon, out to the border of the Ammonites. It also included Gilead, the territory of the people of Geshur and Ma'akah, all of Mount Hermon and all Bashan, as far as Salakah, that is the whole kingdom of Og in Bashan, who had reigned in Ashtaroth and Edrei. He was the last of the Rephaites. Moses had defeated them and taken over their land. But the Israelites did not drive out the people of Geshur and Ma'akah, so they continue to live among the Israelites to this day. But to the tribe of Levi or Levi, he gave no inheritance, since the food offerings presented to the Lord, the God of Israel, are their inheritance, as he promised them. Remember these Levi guys, they're not jeans wearing guys. They're the priests. But they're not just priests that walk around, you know. There are all kinds of them. Some of them carry the ark. That's cool, right? Some of them blow horns, you know. But you have to believe me. Spoiler alert. There's this guy named Gideon. He was a military guy, and God wanted to destroy an army with only a few hundred people. So he told Gideon to find a bunch of people, just a few hundred of them. And they had horns and they had lanterns. But of course they had swords. So horn guys probably have swords. So yeah, telling you the super secret stuff. These guys that blew the horn. Because you have to remember that when they fought Jericho, the ark was in the middle, and they had horn guys in the front. Priests are blowing horns. It's a horn. And then they had the guard, in the Star Wars movies. Remember those guys that wear red, that protect the emperor, the evil emperor? Their guard, So then there was in front of those guys, and to the rear there were guard. So it makes sense, You may have heard that God does things transitionally. Transitioning is like, if you have white here and black, you have to put gray in the middle. So these guys carrying the ark, there's guard in the front, guard in the back. It makes sense that these guys have weapons too. These guys have weapons, right? And these priests with blowing the horns, they also have weapons. Okay. So this is what Moses had given to the tribe of Reuben, according to its clans, the territory from Aroer. So they're funny words. This word may be hard to pronounce. Aroer. And then there's Mount Ararat. And then earlier we were mentioning another group of barbarians. These guys are basically barbarians that have a funny. But I had a friend who could never pronounce Carolina. It was in high school. We would always make fun of him. Whenever we're bored, make him say South Carolina to make everyone laugh. You go, South Carolina. South Carolina. South Carolina. What? It's South Carolina. He's like, yeah, South Carolina. No, South Carolina. He's like, yeah, South Carolina. The territory of Aroer. No. the territory of Aroer, on the rim of the Arnon Gorge, and from the town, in the middle of the gorge, and the whole plateau past Medaba. This is verse 17 now. I'm not going crazy. If you look at the Holy Bible that we are reading, verse 9 sounds a lot like verse 16. We are now in verse 17. I also, I also thought so. I looked back. Oh, okay, I'm not losing my mind. To Heshbon and all its towns on the plateau, including Dibon, Bamoth, Baal, or Baal. Sometimes it's Baal, like Baal, Beth Baal, Meon, Jahaz, Kedemoth, Meh, Fa'ath, Kiryathaim, Sibmah, Zereth, Shahar, on the hill in the valley, Beth Peor, the slopes of Pisgah, and Beth Jeshimoth. Don't be thrown off by the names. Okay, let's take a look at this. These ancient names. So, what is this territory like? There's a gorge, plateau. It seems like towns are built on plateaus, maybe. There's hills and valleys, slopes. Ooh, maybe skiing slopes. And all the towns of the plateau, entire realm of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who ruled at Heshbon. Moses had defeated him and the Midianite chiefs, Evi, Rechem, Zur, Hur, and Rabbah, princes allied with Sihon, who lived in that country. In addition to those slain in battle, the Israelites had put to the sword Balaam or Balaam, son of Beor, who practiced divination. Now you may ask the question, Jimmy Chan, if Joseph, the prince of Egypt, practiced divination with a cup, a silver cup, why wasn't he put to death? And Balaam or Balaam was, and Balaam or Balaam also, he knew the Lord, but he did not serve the Lord. He did not love the Lord. And my answer is things change. The Lord, that's Jesus. Spoiler alert. Lord God, the Creator, the Lord, this powerful being, King of the universes, who is directing Yehoshua at this point. He changes things. Joseph lived a long time before Joshua. So back then it was okay. Now, or a little before this, because remember, when Moses was alive, that's when the Bible talks about Balaam or Balaam. So it was okay back then, and then time moved forward, and then you have to trust God, right? He's like, no good, no more divination. It's very bad now. And sometimes that happens in the world. What used to be good now is terrible. Like people who drive white cars. Nah, I'm just kidding. The boundary of the Reubenites was the bank of the Jordan. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of the Reubenites according to their clans. So the tribe of Reuben, they get all of that land. All that land. This is what Moses had given to the tribe of Gad, according to its clans, the territory of Jazer, all the towns of Gilead, and half the Ammonite country as far as Aroer near Rabbah, and from Heshbon to Ramath Mizpah and Betonim, and from Mahanaim to the territory of Debir, and in the valley Beth Haram, Beth Nimrah, Succoth, and Zaphon, with the rest of the realm of Sihon, king of Heshbon, the east side of the Jordan, the territory up to the end of the Sea of Galilee. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of the Gadites according to their clans. This is what Moses had given to the half tribe of Manasseh or Manasseh, that is, to half the family of the descendants of Manasseh, according to its clans, the territory extending from Mahanaim and including all of Bashan, the entire realm of Og, king of Bashan, all the settlements of Jair in Bashan, 60 towns, half of Gilead and Ashtaroth and Edrei, the royal cities of Og in Bashan. This was for the descendants of Machir, son of Manasseh, for half, Eddie, I want half, no, I'm just kidding, just seeing if you're awake. For half of the sons of Machir, according to their clans. This is the inheritance Moses had given when he was in the plains of Moab. Okay, so this is what Moses wrote down. God told Moses that this is how I want, when you get to the territory, get to that area that you are supposed to conquer, this is how I want you to divide it all up. And each allotment, each division of land goes to this descendant of Jacob, this tribe. So this is what Moses, this is the inheritance. These are the lands, these are the divisions of the lands Moses had given. That means what he wrote down, what God told him to write down when he was in Moab, across the Jordan, east of Jericho. But to the tribe of Levi, Moses had given no inheritance. Now, remember, it's not bad, because Levi or Levi, they are the priests. They get to handle, some cool stuff. The tabernacle, all the altars, the Ark of the Covenant, and they get to set it all up and tear it all down. They have other cool things, like they can make this, maybe not them, but some of them can make this cool water. It's called the water of cleansing. And they get to just handle the best stuff, like all this stuff made of gold, silver, and bronze, and this special incense and oil that are made out of these precious, valuable, constituents or parts. So they don't get any land, but remember, they get towns. You have to watch my earlier videos, and they get pasture land, but they do not have an allotment like a state in the United States. They get cities, like For example, I'm living in Las Vegas. It's my city, I'm a Levite. But um, it's not my state, The state belongs to someone else. Well, that state over there, that's Reuben's state, The the Levites, God, the Lord, the God of Israel, is their inheritance. So, I think that God is trying to do something in the future with the Levites. If God is their inheritance, not the land, then He is calling them His. These are, remember the all of that, they get to handle God's things, which are cool things, but then God is starting to sort of say, like, these are mine, like my children, my sons, because technically we did not become sons and daughters of the true God until Jesus Christ came. It is through His sacrifice that we could become adopted sons and daughters of God, officially. Thank you for listening. I hope this records. If you appreciate my videos, comment below, hit like, share, and smash that subscribe button. And once again, remember, believe in Jesus Christ.